What's up guys? Coach Madden, official trainer for You Go Pro Baseball. And today we got 9 pitching velocity killers. And if you fix these, you're gonna pitch fast. Now, some of you may have seen my video, 7 pitching velocity killers, where I talk about 7 different things that are killing your velocity if you're doing them. And it's been a great video. I think it's got maybe 50,000 views, something crazy. I don't even remember how many views it's got, but it was blowing up there. Everyone loves it, but I want to upgrade that video. So we're going from 7 pitching velocity killers to 9 pitching velocity killers, and I'm going to take it a step further, and I'm going to show you how to fix each of the 9 things. So this video is going to be very, very, very valuable if you're a pitcher. So let's go. The first pitching velocity killer is going to be that you're not getting deep enough into your back leg. What I see a lot of pitchers do is when they go to pitch is they'll come up and they start moving down the mound, and this back leg is kind of really straight. Let me ask you something. If you were going to try to jump as high as you can, would you jump with a slight bend in your leg, or would you really get down there and explode up? You want to get down there, get into your legs and explode up, bend those legs to create energy upward. We want to do the same thing in pitching, but we want to create our energy going towards the home plate. So what it should look like when you're getting into your back leg when you're pitching is when you come up, you kind of want to sit into it and get a good deep angle so that when you start moving down that mound, you can drive out of it and create that energy going towards home. That's called leg drive, and it's where the energy starts. We create ground force by pushing this rubber away from us, and in return we have an equal and opposite reaction going the other way. To do that and to create enough energy and do it efficiently, we really need to get into that back leg so we can drive out of it and extend out of it, okay? So that's the first problem. How do we fix that? How do we get better at it? We can do a drill that's called sit drives. And for sit drives, all you're gonna do is take a bucket, you're gonna sit on that bucket while you're on the mound, and you're gonna drive out of that sitting position and really think about using that back leg. You wanna make sure your knee is inside your back foot when you do this pitching drill, and focus on going from that position, driving out and really using that back leg to give you that extension and that energy towards home. The second pitching velocity killer is gonna be opening your front side too early. What I see a lot of guys doing when they're pitching is they start to pitch, and right away, this front foot overtakes the delivery. So it's here, and this starts to open right away. You're losing a lot of your rotational energy and pitching velocity by doing this because you're leaking that rotational energy if everything's opening up. Now you've just got your arm to throw with, basically. So what you want to do is keep that closed. You actually want to lead with the side of your butt going down that mound for as much as you can before you open up your front side. So you want to keep that foot closed, that hip closed, going down the mound. So how do we fix this? How do we get better at this? There's 2 drills you can do. One is the wall drill, where you get up close to the wall or to the fence. You're gonna lift that leg and start leading with the butt. The only thing that should hit that wall or that fence is the side of your butt. Your knee shouldn't hit, your foot shouldn't hit, nor should your front shoulder. If you do this correctly, you know that you're leading with the side of your butt going down the mound and that you're staying closed. The second pitching drill to fix this or help get better at this is gonna be the toe tap drill or the empty bottle drill. You're gonna put a bottle down just to the side of the rubber. You're gonna tap your toe to it and then start moving down the mound while trying to keep your toe connected to that bottle before you release it and swing that front door open. This will also help you keep that front side closed and learn how to whip it open and get good hip speed when you're pitching. The third pitching velocity killer is gonna be collapsing on your front leg. I can't tell you how many times I see this. This is probably one of the biggest pitching problems that I see, pitching velocity killers that I see in young pitchers, is when they start to pitch, they land on that front leg, and then they just continue collapsing. And their shin angle is way too vertical. Some guys even knee over the toe, which is no bueno at all. Your shin angle wants to be definitely with that knee behind that ankle and pitching against that front leg. A lot of high velocity pitchers you'll see are fully extended on that front leg. It's okay to have a slight bend because it's a very hard thing to do, but you want to make sure that shin angle, you're pitching into the ground and that your knee is behind your ankle and that you're not collapsing with the knee going forward when you're pitching. So how do we work on this? We do up the mound throws. So instead of throwing from the rubber to home plate, we're gonna go on the back of the mound and we're actually gonna go throw up the mound, okay? And the reason why this is effective is because it helps us, teach us that shin angle and how to pitch against our front leg, okay? So as we're going up the slope, we get to feel how that front leg should feel, okay? And then we really gotta work against it and throw down. So that's a great pitching drill to help fix that or get better at that if you're collapsing your front leg. The fourth pitching velocity killer is gonna be flying open with the upper body. So we talked about flying open with the lower body already, but now flying open with the upper body. I see it happen a lot as well. The main reason I see guys flying open with the front side or the upper body is gonna be because they start too open to begin with. So a lot of guys, when they separate their hands, are separating straight towards their target. If you do this and you start to create rotational energy like you're supposed to, a lot of times you're gonna fly out. It just makes sense. So what you gotta do is you have to start more closed off. What I teach my pitchers to do is to separate their hands at least a 45-degree angle close. So if I'm pitching home and here's third base, 45 degrees would be here. So when I separate my hands, I'm separating at least at a 45-degree angle close. A lot of high velocity pitchers will be 90 degrees closed. That's how close they are. So now when they do open up, they're just opening up to in line, okay? So if you're flying open on your front side, it's probably because you're starting too open towards the target. Start more closed off. Try 45 degrees at first, and if that's not working, go a little further, go a little further, go a little further. A great pitching drill you can do to fix this or help work on this is gonna be reverse wall drills. That's when you get up against the wall going the opposite way, like earlier in the video, we talked about the wall drill going into the wall. This is the reverse wall drill where we're gonna go away from the wall. And the reason why this is effective and can help us in this situation is because if we separate straight to our target, our hand is gonna hit that wall or that fence in the back when we separate. But if we're separating at 45 degrees or more closed off, the angle at which we separate our hands, and if we're moving down the mound at the right time, our hand and our arm is not gonna come anywhere near that wall when we're pitching. So that drill is a great drill to help fix and work on the front side opening a little too early. All right, the fifth pitching velocity killer is not getting enough hip to shoulder separation. And what is hip to shoulder separation, first of all? Hip to shoulder separation is how much your hips are separated from your shoulder when you get into your landing. Okay, so when my front foot lands, how far are my shoulders separated from my hips, right? Okay, the reason this is important is they did a study a while ago that showed that 80% of your pitching velocity comes from your hip to shoulder separation. So if you have good hip to shoulder separation, you're gonna throw faster than a guy who doesn't have good hip to shoulder separation. So it's very, very important. So how do we work on this? A couple things you can do. One, and probably the most important, is mobility, right? You gotta have good hip mobility, good mobility in general to put your body and let your body get into these positions and have these fluid motions, right? So to have good hip to shoulder separation, you have to be totally mobile and flexible as a pitcher, as an athlete, okay? I shot a great video, 6 simple stretches to increase your pitching velocity by unlocking your hips. I'll leave a link below, but it's got some really great stretches and mobility exercises that you can do to really unlock your hips and get looser hips, so it helped you get into this these positions, especially this hip to shoulder separation position that we need for our pitching velocity. So that's one way. Check that video out. You can do some of those stretches. It's just having that mobility. The second thing is we can get stronger, faster, and more explosive through that movement. And the way we do that is by medicine ball throws. So we can grab our medicine ball down by the side at our back hip. We're gonna stride just like we're pitching. We're gonna try to keep that medicine ball back as long as we can, and then we're gonna explode it and throw it going forward. We can also do the medicine ball throws with the medicine ball up by our back shoulder instead of down by our back hip. And we're gonna turn, stride, keep that medicine ball back as long as we can so we can feel that stretch, that tension, that elastic energy pulling, and then unload it and throw it forward as well. So those are a few great things you can do to work on getting better hip to shoulder separation, which will increase your pitching velocity. The sixth pitching velocity killer is gonna be being disconnected with your arm when you're pitching. What I see a lot of guys do is when they get into that power position or that hip to shoulder separation position, their arm is disconnected, like they're kind of dragging that arm behind and they're not connected. Where we wanna be is at 90 degrees or slightly inside. We wanna be connected so that we're loaded and then we can unload, right? Everything about pitching is loading and unloading. Loading and unloading. When you think about it, we want to load up all that energy and unload it. And if we're disconnected with that pitching arm, we're not gonna be able to have as much unloading that we want when we're throwing, right? So we want to be connected 90 degrees or slightly inside of that 90-degree angle. So how can we fix this? There's a thing called the connection ball that I like to use. You just put the ball in between your bicep and your forearm, and you get into that position, and you could do rocker drills. You can even start in your scap load when you're doing it, or you can be in that power position, kind of get some movement, and then you're just gonna throw the baseball. That connection ball will pop out, but you're working on the feeling of staying connected and getting used to being in that position when you get there. The seventh pitching velocity killer, and this is another huge one that I see, especially in the younger pitchers, is getting around the baseball when you're throwing. I see so many young players, when they throw, they're releasing the ball and they're like on the side of it here and they're throwing sliders as their fastball. A lot of those guys say they have elbow soreness as well. And this is no bueno. You don't want elbow soreness. You don't want your elbow to ever hurt, right? That's a bad thing when it comes to pitching, especially at a young age. So what we actually want to happen, instead of being on the side of the baseball, is we want to be behind that baseball at release point and actually pronating through our release point, okay? Pronating just means turning the arm and the hand this way as we release. So think about taking your thumb and turning it down as you release. If you guys ever learn how to throw a circle changeup, that's how you throw the circle changeup. But this actually happens on your fastball as well. The only difference between the fastball and the circle changeup is on the fastball, the pronation happens through release point. On the changeup, it's gonna happen a little bit earlier, okay? So if you're a guy who gets around the baseball when you're throwing, how can we work on that? How can we fix it and make it better? There's a great pitching drill that you can do called pivot picks. And for pivot picks, you're actually gonna throw to your arm side. You're gonna get set up. So if I'm set up like this, I'm actually gonna be throwing to you. So all you're gonna do is get into an athletic position. You're gonna come up like you're making a muscle, turn as far as you can. You guys are probably gonna be able to turn a little farther than I can. Turn as far as you can and throw this way. You can throw into a net. You can throw with a partner. You don't wanna throw super long with this one, but all you're trying to do is focus on when you do throw, you throw and turn in this way when you finish. So it looks like this. That pitching drill will really help any of the guys who get around the baseball and really feel that pronation when they're throwing. The eighth pitching velocity killer is gonna be early pronation. Now we talked about pronation in the last one and guys getting around the ball too early and having better pronation, but this one is early pronation. And this is a big issue because it's mistaught so much. And it's actually taught the wrong way. So pitchers are doing a lot because that's what they're taught. What happens is, early pronation is when you separate your hands and you come back and the ball is pointing away from you. How many of you guys have been taught that? So like when you separate your hands and you're coming back and you want to point this ball towards the second baseman if you're a righty, right? I was taught that, I'm not gonna lie, but it's wrong. That's early pronation. Again, we talked about pitching as loading and unloading of your body, right? Different movements. If you're here with your pronation and you have to pronate at your release point, you have no loading. You're already unloaded, right? So we actually want to load this forearm up. So in reality, we want that ball to be facing the shortstop and maybe even the third baseman as a right-handed pitcher. So as we get here, we want to be here. So now I'm loaded up, and now I can go from here to unloaded, which is my pronation. But if I have early pronation, I can't unload with pronation. Does that make sense? So to fix early pronation, you just have to be aware of it. There really isn't any drill that I use specifically to do it. This again is more just mistaught. So if as coaches, we can understand the reason behind this and start teaching the right way, this will help a lot of pitchers not get into this position and get used to this position. So just being aware, being conscious of this. If you already do this, just getting the feel for staying more loaded, staying more less pronated early in your delivery. And last but not least, the 9th pitching velocity killer is going to be having flat shoulders. So guys who move down the mound and their shoulders just kind of stay flat, they kind of stay parallel to the ground. This is not good. We actually want to have a tilt to our shoulders. We want to be upward. Again, this is kind of mistaught a lot. Coaches think, you know, you want to stay down with the front shoulder so you can pull down. No, again, it's loading and unloading. We want to load to unload, okay? So we're going to have a slight upward shoulder angle as we move down the mound. So it looks like this. As we separate, again, earlier in the video, we talked about starting more closed off. So we're starting closed off, but we're also starting with an angle on the shoulders. So now we're closed and we're loaded this way. Now we can open and unload. That's how we get all our energy. That's how we get all our pitching velocity. So if you have flat shoulders, you're losing, you're killing your pitching velocity. So how do we work on this? How do we get better at this? You can do the rocker drill. Rocker drill is a great pitching drill. All you're gonna do is get set up nice and wide, heel to heel. You're gonna sit into it and you're gonna rock back and forth. Now, when you rock back and you start to throw and you separate your hands, you really wanna make sure that you get that angle in your shoulder this way before you turn and throw. Okay, so it looks a little something like this. Guys, I really hope you like this updated version of the pitching velocity killers. I know you guys loved the last pitching velocity killer video I did, the 7. This one has 9, and I showed you exactly how to fix all of those problems. So I would really appreciate if you gave me that thumbs up on this video. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and I will see you in the next video.